Right lads, and it's time for more Irish football history as we cast our eyes back to the 15th of February 1995 and an infamous friendly match between Ireland and England in Lansdowne Road. In 1995, the Irish football team were at an all-time high, having qualified for back-to-back World Cups under manager Jack Charlton. It was one of the few times in history that Ireland were arguably better at football than England. Add to this the already difficult relationship between the two countries and the fact that 1995 was still during the Troubles, and you have a recipe for a fairly fiery fixture. 4,000 England fans would make the trip to Dublin for the fixture, and before the match had even begun, the English fans could be heard singing anti-Republican songs in pubs around Dublin, and some clashes broke out between fans before the match. The English FA had sent warnings to the FAI alongside lists of possible troublemakers, and according to FAI Chief Executive Bernard O'Brien, they had about 3 or 4 times the amount of meetings, preparations and rehearsals that we would have had before any other match. Still, both organisations were later accused of failing to prepare properly for trouble. For the match, then Irish President Mary Robinson was booed as she came onto the pitch, a sign of the trouble to come. The game started off strong with both sides battling back and forth, before in the 22nd minute, David Kelly would find the back of the net for Ireland. Trouble would start to kick off in the West End housing the English fans, but it would truly let loose in the 27th minute when a David Platt equaliser was chalked off for offside. English fans had begun to rip up seats from the stand, which at the time were largely still wooden, and throw them onto the Irish fans below. Why the Irish fans were allowed to be seated there would later become a key point in the investigation. The referee stopped the game at this point and let both teams off the pitch. As Irish fans started to pull onto the pitch away from the violence and injuries mounted, English fans could be heard continue to chant, and a small section could be seen making Nazi salutes, alongside apparent chants of Judas towards Jack Charlton as he came back onto the pitch in an attempt to quell the violence. It was also later found that some Irish fans were amongst the English fans, as the FAI had mistakenly sold them away tickets. After 12 minutes, the game was officially called off, and Irish fans started to be removed from the ground, as English fans were held back by the Garda Public Order unit, continuing to brawl with the Gardaí. The immediate reaction to the match was met with condemnation by both the English and Irish. Both Charlton and Teddy Venables, then England manager, were shaken by the scenes at the stands, and the riot called into question England's ability to host the 1996 Euros. The investigation afterwards had found that the Gardaí had been slow to react to warnings of trouble, and the FAI rose a question over fan positioning and ticket sales. It was also found that a lot of the violence had been led by a prominent neo-Nazi terrorist group, Combat 18. The riot remains to this day one of the lowest points for Irish football.